Welcome to the Gamescape, everybody. My name is Jeric, and today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Disciples of Anu's Mutogs, which are their versions of vehicles. They don't have actual vehicles like the Scarab or the Armadillo. They have these war beasts instead. And so there are, as you can see, there are 8 of them that are available. And the reason why there are so many is they do have a couple of differences. So there's 2 different heads that are available, 2 different sets of legs that are available, and then 2 different tails that are available. So if you put those 2 together, put all those together, two heads times 2 legs times 2 tails, that's 8 different combinations to get all of them covered. If you're wondering about the names of these things, which I was, so I kind of dug into it a little bit, these names are all names of celestial bodies from the ancient Sumerian language. All of these Mutogs are named after different celestial bodies. So Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, the moon, the sun, and Jupiter. And if you're paying attention, that's only 7, not 8. And that is because this last one, the Ninkashi, is actually named after the goddess of beer, or the lady of beer, which I thought that was kind of a cute little Easter egg that they put in there. And I'm not an expert on Sumerian. I could be wrong. That could be something else, but I suspect the developers were just having a little bit of fun there. To build one of these things, you're looking at 600 mutagens, which before Corrupted Horizons was not a terribly big deal. There wasn't a lot to spend mutagens on other than these guys and then actually mutating your troops if that was a path that you were taking. Now with the Corrupted Horizons DLC, the demand for mutagens is a little bit more immediate, with them being used to remove corruption from your troops and also to build mutoid soldiers if that's what you're going to do. That all costs mutagens now as well, and the demand for it is a little bit higher. So it's a little more of a toss-up now than it was before of whether it was, if it's worth building one of these things. Previously, like I said, these things don't cost any materials, they don't cost any tech, and so it wasn't that bad to build 1 or 2 of these. And if you didn't use it for anything else, it could be used for base defense. But now, like I said, it's a little bit more of a question whether that's going to be worth it or not. That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. That's going to be based on your game style, your gameplay, how you're building out your squads, and so on and so forth. So that's going to be a judgment call for you to make. I'm not going to say one way or another if it's good or bad, but it is what it is with the new DLC. So there are now competing uses for mutagens that are a little more urgent than they were before. Let's get into the different pieces of these things real quick, since we have that on the screen available to us. The 2 different heads, you have the venomous head, does 60 damage and 60 poison at an effective range of 12. 2 action points to do that. The other head is the basher head. Damage is 150 with 10 shred and 300 shock damage, so you're looking at good potential to daze your target. Pretty much everything but the toughest enemies are going to be dazed after they take that hit. The tails are similar. The basher tail does basically the same thing, but at a lower values, but it's only one action point to do it. So 60 damage with 30 shred, so the shred's actually higher. It's good for peeling armor off something tough. 200 shock damage. Single strike. This is a melee attack at effective range of 1. Action points is 1. So it can swing this tail 4 times if it's already snuggled up to a Pandoran or another enemy. It can do some pretty good damage through there. You're looking at 240 damage. And after you remove 240 damage off of something, you've shredded a lot of armor and you're probably going to daze it. Both of those are good. I don't know, having both the head and the tail do the same type of damage, that might be redundant and overkill. That's something that you're going to kind of have to figure out for yourself. I don't think it's the best. I think it's probably better to have one of the 2 doing bash damage like this and the other one doing either, poison or slash, whichever you choose to go with. But anyway, let's look at the other tail. Is the slasher tail. 70 damage instead of 60 for the other tail, and 30 bleed damage on top of that. Effective range again is 1. It's a melee attack, and action points is 1. So again, you can swing this tail 4 times if you're already up against something else. The third aspect of these Mutogs is their legs, and there's 2 sets of legs. There's either the agile leg, and they're not listed here. It's just listed here in the title of the abilities of the Mutog. So the agile has a speed of 28. And has the leap ability, which costs 2 willpower points and I believe 2 action points to leap up to 10 tiles away. It works basically the same way as the jet jump ability of the Golem B armor or the other heavy suits that have it. Same idea, just not quite as far. Costs both willpower and action points to use. It is the only way that the Mutogs have to spend willpower points. The other set of legs are the Regen Legs, and they're the bluer, thicker legs. Each one of these that is still intact at the beginning of your turn regenerates 10 health on one of the body portions of the Mutog. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that a disabled leg is going to be brought back by the other legs. I have seen it where that doesn't happen. All of the 30 remaining regeneration that it has for the 3 legs that aren't disabled went to different body parts and did not bring the leg back. That's something to be a little bit aware of too. But overall, the regeneration really makes these guys even more tanky than they already are. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into kind of the good points of these guys, and we're going to kind of talk about what they're mediocre at and what they're bad at. But to do that, I want to get one of these things onto an actual map so we can actually demonstrate it. So give me just a minute and I will get that set up and I will bring you right back. All right, so I've selected an Inkashi and we are on a actual mission map here. This is actually a supply grab mission, which is probably the absolute worst mission you can take a Mutog on. But just for demonstration purposes, it was a convenient map. So we're just going to kind of take a look around and see what the Mutog can do without worrying about the supply caches. So I've got my other 3 soldiers over here, and we're going to go find some trouble and see if we can deal with it. So talking about the Mutogs and what's good and what's bad about them, let's start with the good. They're extremely tough. You can see that this one, which is the second to the toughest of them all, has 1,700 hit points. That's a lot. That's way more even than the Armadillo has. The number of hit points for these Mutogs varies based on what tail, what legs, and what head they have. The Basher tail has 60 more hit points than the Slasher tail does. The regenerating legs have 150 more hit points than the Agile legs, and the ramming head has 60 more hit points than the venomous head. So just depending on which combination of those 3 things your Mutog has, your Mutog is going to have anywhere from 1,490 health at the weakest up to 1,760 at the strongest. If we take a look at the armor, though, this is where things are kind of not so great. All of the Mutogs have the same armor, 20 on all of their body locations except for their legs that have 10 each. Your assault soldiers with just vanilla Odin body armor have better protection than this. The problem is the Mutog is big and it's easy to hit, and it doesn't have a lot of armor protection to negate that. So it's depending strictly on its health pool to just absorb that damage. Actually, one of the ways that it does help with that is all of these Mutogs have this ability called Devour. And what that does is when the Mutog kills an enemy, it gains back hit points equal to half of what the enemy had in total. The Mindfragger's got 110 hit points, so if you kill it, you're going to get 55 health back. The other main benefit of these guys is they're pretty fast. The speed of the Mutog is based on which legs it has. The regeneration legs give it a speed of 20, and the Agile legs give it a speed of 28. But even 20 is pretty good. Our soldiers generally aren't that fast at this point, at least not the ones that I have. So I'm not necessarily trying super hard with this. I just want to get this Mutog into combat and kind of show its abilities a little bit. So we're just going to move our guys up a little bit here and see what they can do. From downtown, got 1 hit.
Let's go.
Okay, so while this is going, the weapons on the Mutog are decent. I'm not going to go so far as to say they're great, because it doesn't have the same punch that 3 soldiers have that it's taking up their space for on the airplane. So like a vehicle, these things do take 3 slots on your aircraft, and it doesn't have the damage output of 3 soldiers, generally speaking, but it does do pretty well. And one of the other abilities that it has that will help with that a little bit, this is interesting, we'll talk about that in a second. Another ability that all of the Mutogs have is Primal Instinct, which means they gain 2 action points upon killing an enemy. So that can, if you have things set up right, and if things kind of fall into place correctly, you can kill one thing and maybe even get a kill on a second thing with the extra action points, especially if you use your soldiers first to kind of soften them up a little bit. It's possible to do that. One of the things about the Mutogs that is mediocre, and I say this because it is mediocre, is they have a high willpower. The bashing head gives 24 willpower. The venomous head gives 20 willpower. And that's high. But the reason why I list this as kind of a mediocre thing is because since they do have willpower, they are affected by the things that affect willpower. And so what that means is they can panic. They can be mind controlled. They're vulnerable to psychic attacks. And viral damage on these guys especially is a big problem because they're big, they're easy to hit, and it's easy to stack up a whole bunch of virus damage on them if the Pandorans have the virus rifle, for instance. There is a Triton that has that. And then when you combine it with a Siren here, the Siren has the mind control ability as long as its head is intact. And so if you start putting those things together, your Mutog can pretty quickly become their Mutog. And if you don't have a way to disable that Siren's head and break that mind control, you're going to have your own Mutog turn on you and start killing your guys instead. That's a big problem. Even if it just panics, it's down and out. It's down and out for 2 turns. The first turn while it panics, and then the second turn while it recovers. And so viral damage on these Mutogs is a pretty big problem. I would list it as almost a hard counter to them because chewing through 1,700 hit points for the Pandorans isn't an easy thing for them to do. But chewing down 20 willpower points or even 24 willpower points, that's a lot easier. And it effectively disables the Mutog. If you get it down to where it's panicking, it's not hurting anything. And that's a pretty major weakness for these things. So you do have to really be careful if you're going to use Mutogs about Tritons with virus weapons and deal with them quickly. Even after that, I mean, if we look at this Siren here, the Siren has 38 willpower points, which means she can just take control of our Mutog just straight up. She doesn't even have to whittle down its willpower at all. And so that's a big problem. And again, if you can't disable that head, then you're going to be facing down your own Mutog in all of its fury. And so that's something to kind of bear in mind. All right, so we have pretty easy kill here, I think. Well, 260 is not super easy, but we can get him. Let's see if we can start there. We're going to come to here so that we're 1 step away from that guy. If we do kill him, maybe we can kill one and get some damage on another. There's a lot of enemies on this screen. Like I said, I would not bring a Mutog into a supply mission ever. All right, let's start with... let's just start with... that'll get him to half. We can maybe finish him off. Another one of the downsides of these Mutogs, and I know I'm kind of talking a lot more about downsides than upsides, and unfortunately that's just kind of a fact of life with these guys. They really kind of could use some TLC and some updates, because there is a lot more bad about them than there is good. But I still wanted to cover them so that everybody kind of knew what they did and how they did. We're going to do a ram there. We're going to get us down, disabled his arm at least. And then we can still do a tail strike, maybe. No, we're out. Okay, so something that we can do, though, potentially, is get him some more action points. Be in that bubble? Not quite. We have to step up just a little bit. I'm on the move. So we can get him 2 more action points here. Now, if we headbutt him again, is that going to kill him? Should. So this should kill him. Yep. And then can we can't do that. So the range on the headbutt is listed as 2, but we're not able to headbutt this guy. So I don't know if that means it's probably 2 so that it covers this gap. Maybe I'm not sure exactly. But we're going to be able to get in here. We're going to be able to get a tail slash in at least and get him bleeding. But bleeding and poison damage with the poison head aren't necessarily exactly what you want against your common troops. And the reason why is because poison damage and bleed damage, if it kills them, does not count as a kill for the Mutog in respect to it gaining health back or gaining the extra action points, because it is going to happen on the next turn, on the Pandoran's turn. And so it's not something that you can really, it doesn't help is all. We're going to get another swing on here. We'll get up to 60 bleed damage on this guy. And that's going to be about all we're going to be able to do there. We need to take care of this guy for sure.
Rolling out. Hostile destroyed.
So that's one of the downsides for sure. We don't have enough hit points here left to do a lot. Help out just a little bit there and then set up an Overwatch.
Area covered.
Handgun, so we want a short Overwatch. Bring this soldier up here. See if we can get a little... Be good cover from that shield from there. Yeah, we might as well crack a few shots at that thing down there. I don't know if we're going to hit it, but yeah, we hit it once. All right, our Mutog is pretty much out of actions here. Could move another step, but it's not really worth it. So I've kind of covered what I think is mediocre about these guys. Let's get into the bad. They are big. Like I said, this is a 3x3. And just like the vehicles, there are places it can't go. It cannot go through certain terrain features like rocks, trees, etc. And it cannot move through a Pandoran or another enemy. So it can get blocked in. Boy, that guy's messing us up, isn't he? Now, this is going to be interesting to see if the Siren's going to try and take control of that. Oh, got my soldier instead. Bunch of mind fraggers. Unlike the vehicles, the Mutogs don't have any immunities to offset its size and the ease of its how easy it is to hit. And it makes sense that it doesn't, since it is a living organism. But your Mutogs are susceptible to basically all of the different damage over time effects, whether that is, you know, poison or bleeding or whatever. It just, it doesn't have any immunities like what the vehicles have. It can't carry soldiers like vehicles can, has no capacity to carry soldiers, and it doesn't have an inventory like the vehicles do. So on a mission like this, where you're trying to pick up loot out of these crates, you want, you know, that extra inventory so you can get more than just what your soldiers carry. That's why I say this is the last type of mission you'd want to bring a Mutog on in these particular, in this case. And this was just a convenient mission to get him on the map. So that's all this is. But it's not really the best thing. This is definitely not the best kind of mission for this guy. So those are kind of the things. The ability mismatches too, like I already talked about. You know, the Devour and the Instinct, Primal Instinct, don't match really up well with bleed and poison damage. So there's that. Another problem that I've kind of noticed is you can't free aim any of your attacks. You know, it's all melee attacks. Even with the venomous head, even the ranged poison attack cannot be free aimed. So you're just kind of taking what you get, and that's all that you get. Really, the question you really need to ask is the Mutog going to give you the benefit of 3 soldiers that you're not bringing on the aircraft because you're bringing that instead? And I think it depends on your squad build out, and I think it depends on your play style. It's a judgment call that you're going to have to make for yourself if you want to use these guys or not. They can be very good. Like I said, they're extremely tanky. I mean, this guy hit us for a lot of damage, and we're still at 1,273. And we've got a couple of easy kills back here that we could regen a little bit off of. This guy here is easy kill. So we could probably string together these 3 kills without too much trouble. So anyway, let's see if we can chain up some damage here and see if we can kill some stuff. This guy's pretty tough yet. He's got a lot left, and I don't want to... We'll come back to him. If we come here... I'm going to take 2 swings with the slasher tail to kill each one of these guys. Okay, that gets us 2 AP back and gets us some health back. Okay, then we can do the same thing to the other guy. Killed him. That gets us 2 more AP. And then, if we take... Yeah, we don't have enough action points to transfer. So that's about all it's going to be able to do. It'll get over here. It'll hit this guy, but it won't kill him. So even there, you know, it's not the easiest to chain these attacks together, especially if your soldiers aren't in a position to weaken them. So he'll take some damage. He'll take some bleed. And that's really all our Mutog can do. So I don't know. My opinion on them, I don't really use them that much. I think they have more drawbacks than they have advantages. But I did want to cover them and let you kind of see for yourself what they can do and let you make your own decisions, because you might have a different play style than me, and you might find something that these things are really great for that helps your particular squad out that isn't really that great. My squad's very straightforward here. I've got 2 assault snipers and 3 assault snipers, basically. One of them is kitted out to actually be a sniper. The other 2 are assault soldiers. So I don't have anything special going on here. I don't have like priests or berserkers or anything like that. Maybe your particular squad loadout is Mutog would work really well with it. So that's up to you to decide, but I did want to cover them, and that's kind of my thoughts on these guys. So let me know in the comments what you think, and if you have enjoyed this video or if you've learned anything, do me a big favor and tap that like button for me. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. That will really help out my channel with the YouTube algorithm. and I would definitely appreciate it. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and until next time, thanks for watching.